Hey guys, welcome back to Games of War. Today's episode is going to be the game genre that needs just a little more love. And this is a genre of gaming that's been around for a long time. It's seen a kind of a resurgence lately in more games coming out. I don't know if it's more liked nowadays than it was back then, but it's definitely got a hardcore following, and it definitely takes a certain type of gamer to appreciate this style of game. It requires a lot of reading. A lot of the games don't have replay value per se. I guess the replay value is in the eye of the beholder, whether you get into the story or characters. But that genre of gaming I'm talking about is none other than like visual novel, point and click, text adventure, many different names, and there's kind of a few different subgenres in this, and they've kind of branched out a little bit lately with adding more types of gameplay into the mass amounts of reading and whatnot. So I'm just going to go through some of my favorite franchises and games that if you are interested in taking a look at more visual novel style games, there's a ton of great ones to pick from and a lot coming through in the handheld systems. So hope you guys enjoy and thanks for watching. So in starting this video off, I'd like to go with a couple of game series that, knowing that this is such a niche genre and not everybody can get into it, I wanted to start off with two series that if anyone were going to give the genre a chance, I believe that these two series of games would be the ones that would really pull them in and make them fall in love with the genre, as I have and other fans of it have. These two series right here are the most edgy, the most graphic, shocking, if you will, graphic novels I've ever played. This is definitely on the precipice of creating something new in the genre. Very new ideas and very original. We'll start off with the 999, 9 Persons, 9 Hours, 9 Doors, and the sequel Virtue's Last Reward, Zero Escape. Now these games are both part of the Escape series, and they're very unique visual novels in the fact that they're very violent, they're very shocking, and they keep you on the edge of your toes, which is not very much associated with this kind of genre. Now the first game to come out was 999, and it really made a big splash, it really hit hard, and it made a lot of people take notice of the genre. Now this game is often described as like Saw, the movie Saw, meets like a graphic novel. What I mean by that is, you play as a character named Junpei who awakens. He's been abducted and taken, kidnapped if you will. He awakens on a sinking ocean liner, and when he wakes up, he is thrust into the first of many escape scenarios. And that's what this game is broken up into, escape scenarios and novel sections. Now the escape scenarios force you to puzzle solve and think fast and escape a situation where you'll face immediate death if you don't escape in time. The first puzzle is like the room is filling up with water. You must search the room, solve puzzles, put clues together to get yourself out of the room. Where you meet up with other people, 8 in total, that have been kidnapped and placed on this ship too. You're all assigned names that are numbers, and the sections that you are talking to them, the other characters, getting to know them, and formulating a plan, what the hell's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. They remember being kidnapped, they remember blacking out, and that's it. And their mind and memory slowly starts to come back to them as the game goes on. But it's during these novel sections where you're forced to talk, make decisions, and these decisions that are made affect the ending of the game. I think there's like 5 or 6 different endings depending on choices you make throughout the game. So everything you do has a sense of importance to it. Nothing is trivial, and it all adds to your ending. And this is suspenseful, it's very violent, there's depictions of death, there's blood, guts. It's a very visceral game, it's powerful, it grabs a hold of you, it doesn't let go. These might sound like over animated responses, but I really cannot stress how like gut-wrenching this game is. It makes your hands sweat, gripping a handheld playing it. I fell in love with 999. It's a masterpiece. And a lot of other people, critics, everyone else was really impressed with 999. So if you're looking for a visual novel to get you into the genre, definitely check out 999. The sequel, Virtue's Last Reward, is more of the same, has the escape scenarios, the novel sections. I just started playing this one not too long ago, so I'm about halfway through, but it carries the quality and tradition of 999, placing you in frantic escape scenarios, and once again, awesome characters and novel sections where you really must talk to these characters, make decisions that are very important, survive. So these games are pushing the envelope. It's an excellent series, highly recommended. The Danganronpa series, or Trigger Happy Havoc, is something that just came out of nowhere for me, totally surprised the hell out of me. I believe it's by the same company as the 999 series. But this one, you play as a normal high school student who has been accepted into Hope's Peak, which is like a prestigious school where only the luckiest of students are accepted. There's like the ultimate of the ultimate baseball star, the ultimate biker, the ultimate fashionista, the ultimate fashion model, the ultimate pop star, and you're just this ultimate lucky student that just kind of got lucky. You don't have any real talents or skills, but due to luck, you're in the school. Now, as soon as you arrive at this school, it totally goes for the worse, a horrible downturn. You wake up, you find that all the windows have been nailed shut, boarded shut, you cannot escape, and you are forced to play a game of deadly murder. You learn early on that the goal of the game, the only way you're going to escape this school alive, is to murder one of your classmates and not be found out. Take yourself out of the game for a minute and just imagine that you're going to a new school, you think this is a fresh start, a chance at a real good life, and all of a sudden you're forced into murdering your fellow students and not get caught to leave. It's a sick and twisted scenario, but I tell you, it makes for one hell of a visual novel. The gameplay is carried out in first-person perspective as you explore Hope's Peak. Talk to the characters, get to know them. Shit starts going down real quick. Once the murders start happening, all hell breaks loose. You're forced into exploration and then classroom trials where you and your fellow students gather around and start pointing the finger, playing the blame game. This person did it because of this. As you're exploring the school, you'll find stuff that's out of place and that's going to suggest certain characters. So it's quite the experience. Once again, very much like 999, it is just a white knuckle experience. It is engaging, very well written, shocking at times, but it will keep you glued to the Vita until its conclusion. The second Danganronpa takes very much like what Virtue's Last Reward did with 999, takes the established formula and runs with it. New setting, new locations, new characters. I haven't finished this one yet, but I'm very much looking forward to getting back into it. I finished the first Trigger Happy Havoc and the first 999 and working through the sequel on both, but I can recommend them to the fullest. These are masterpiece franchises that no one should miss. I definitely have to mention Time Hollow on the DS. This is a real gem of a game, only available on the DS. It was never ported to anything else, and it's kind of been forgotten by time, unfortunately. Now, this is an amazing graphic novel adventure game where you play as Ethan Karos, who is about to have his 17th birthday. He lives a normal life at home with his mom and dad. Well, on his 17th birthday, he wakes up to find his entire life completely changed, and his parents have now been missing for 12 years, and it's like he's been living a false life all this time. So shortly after, you find this mysterious magic pen, and with this pen you're able to open up time rifts and go back in time and explore alternate realities. Now, it sounds pretty complex, but the way it's handled is amazing. I found this game to be a lot of fun to play. I only got stuck a couple times in this. I had to revert to a walkthrough once, because I'm not going to lie, it gets pretty challenging in terms of what to do, but I had a fun time playing it. The gameplay is standard point and click stuff on certain aspects, where you go from school to different places and talk to different characters, adventure around the city, but the main gameplay hook comes from wielding this time pen. And it leads to a lot of cool possibilities. I had a lot of fun digging into the story, which for me is the highlight of this game. It's very well written, put together very nice. It's interesting. It keeps you interested in what happens, revealing characters and backstories as to what happened to your parents and what happened to your life, basically. You're getting your life back. And it's got really nice quality CG cinemas peppered along to keep the story moving along, keep you interested. So if there's one game that I can recommend that doesn't get enough love and doesn't get talked about enough, it's Time Hollow. It's definitely worth any fan's look of the genre. Definitely check this one out. It's a great game. Off, we've got the amazing Phoenix Wright series. And this series really brought back the visual novel point-and-click style gameplay to a new audience back in 2005 when the first one was released on the DS. And the DS was a revolutionary system at the time. It's hard to think now because everything is touch-enabled. We've got iPod Touch, we've got iPhones, we've got pretty much everything out there is touch-sensitive displays. But back in 2004, the DS was a brand new type of thing, to be honest. I had never played a game with a touch screen. I never even thought of it. So playing these games lent itself very well to the hardware. And this series is really complex in terms of its intertwining stories and returning characters and overall story arcs that I'm going to try to skim over the storyline just to not reveal any spoilers as well, because going into these games in depth would take a lot of the fun out for people that haven't played it. But the first game in Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, you play as Phoenix Wright, who is just fresh out of law school, takes a job at the Fay and Company law offices, run by two sisters, Mia and Maya. Some events happen to where you team up with Mia and take over the business due to circumstances happening to the sister, and you start these cases. The way the games play out is that each game is broken up into 4 or 5 cases, and these cases are broken up into investigation segments and then the courtroom. Now, investigative sees you going around to different key locations mentioned in trial, going through and finding evidence, collecting items, talking to different witnesses, kind of piecing together this overall arc of what happened. Because as the game starts, it starts with an opening cinematic. You actually see the crime being committed and you see the culprit, so you know who's guilty, and it's up to you to prove that person's guilt. And a lot of times, the people you represent, like in one case, you represent a guy named Larry Butts, who is Phoenix Wright's friend from high school. Then you know that Larry's not capable of committing this murder. But in all these cases, it seems like there's overwhelming evidence against your defendant. So you really have to pay attention and go around and highlight different pieces of evidence, get stories, get locations, and it's just a magical experience. You collect all this evidence, you meet these characters that are just so charming and so well written that you remember all of them, and the way the story is told, my hat's off to whoever wrote these games, because there is so much skill and love for the game. You can just see it in every inch and corner that you cover in this game. Every location you go into, there's a reason for a set piece being there. The characters are all expertly written into the storyline. I can't tell you the feeling of going to these locations, piecing together this mystery, and then presenting the facts to the courtroom. And the courtroom is a whole other section of gameplay there. That's when you present facts. And the fun thing about these courtroom cases is that as long as you pay attention and you are listening to the testimony, you can spot some of these holes. They're sometimes an outright lie. Sometimes you have to dig through your court documents and pick out the evidence that's damaging. So it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure this stuff out, and I'll be first to be honest with you guys, I'm not really the best at puzzle solving. I usually shy away from puzzle solving elements in like role-playing games and other types of games. But with this series right here, you pay attention, you listen to what these guys are saying, and you study the documents, and you're going to find holes in these people's testimony. And it's very satisfying to use this evidence against the person trying to lie, because you kind of grow attached to the character you're defending. And that happens in each one of these games. The first 3 are the initial trilogy, and they were, like I said, on the Game Boy Advance originally, so they're straight ports to the DS with some added touchscreen stuff. And there's an overall arcing story. Each case is separate, but the characters and the story arcs kind of intertwine and stay throughout the game. So characters and things that happen to people outside of the courtroom are all, it's like a soap opera where it's continuing, but the cases are separate. So you're going to recognize returning characters. The first trilogy is just it's an amazing gameplay experience. And then next came Apollo Justice, who you play as a different character here. You're going to be playing as Apollo, where Phoenix Wright has had his license taken away through some turn of events in the other games. And Apollo Justice was the first one that was made specifically for the DS. So you're going to have improved graphics and different animations. And that's the one other thing. The animations are so brilliant when people are on the stand. When they start lying and they get caught in the lie, you'll see them start sweating in their trademark poses. They'll get less confident. And then when they're telling a lie and they think they've got you fooled, they just do these animations where they just think that they're untouchable. And it's awesome to bring them down, to expose their lies. Miles Edgeworth was the last game that we got in physical form. And it was quite different. Now, Miles Edgeworth was a rival defense attorney that faced off against Phoenix Wright in each of these games. And he was like quite the adversary. To be playing as him, and this switches it up a little bit. It's like a third person where you're actually able to move him around, and it takes the battle out of the courtroom, but as the title says, investigations. So you're going to be going to scenes and you're going to be piecing together evidence and laying down facts and discovering truths that takes place out of the courtroom. Still the same kind of thing where you can object, and when somebody's lying, you say hold it, object, and you present evidence. You do the same thing, it's just not in the courtroom, it's actually out in the field where these crimes or murders have taken place. So an excellent entry into the series. There was a sequel in Japan that we never got, unfortunately. There was a recently released Dual Destinies on the 3DS, which was unfortunately only digital, but I really enjoyed that game as well. It was the first mature game rated in the series. Overall, first of all, like I said, it takes a certain type of gamer. If you love to read, if you love murder mysteries, if you love solving things, getting to the truth of certain things, if those kind of things appeal to you, and keep in mind that you're not going to be shooting a bad guy in the face a million times. You're not going to be rescuing a princess or doing some, tight, skilled platforming. This is all about beautiful characterization, excellent written scripts, getting to the bottom of truths, getting to know these characters, their personalities, watching them lie and try to take other people down, and rising above it all to conquer. And it's a fantastic series that I'm completely in love with. So if you're looking to get into the Ace Attorney series, you've got a lot of options these days. Back a few years ago, the games actually went out of print and they were starting to get expensive. And I think thankfully Capcom did a reprint a couple of times, I think. And these are also available on iOS. They're available on the WiiWare, the eShop. Now the 3DS eShop, you can actually buy the original trilogy with added 3D support and I think improved visuals, I'm not sure. But there's definitely a lot of options if you want to go have a go at these games, and I highly recommend them. While we're on the topic of Ace Attorney, I wanted to mention another game that I've got a lot of love for in the visual novel style with some puzzle solving, and by the same team or the same guy that created the Ace Attorney games. He went out and wanted to make something new and fresh. He had been working on Ace Attorney games for quite some time, and this was his next big project, and he had a lot of passion for this, and you can definitely tell. Ghost Trick is an excellent murder mystery game where you start playing the game and you're already dead, which is really cool. How many games do you start off, seeing your murder, you're already dead, your body's slumped over, and the cool thing about this game is that just after you die, in the opening, you're witnessing a girl being killed by the same killer. Only you have the option, as Sissel, you have inherited ghost powers. And these ghost powers allow for some really cool things and serve as like the bulk of the gameplay experience. Now, as a ghost, an entity, you can travel into the ghost world and you can possess and animate different objects, offering the chance to change the course of history. So early on, you're able to possess different objects, go through the environments, and puzzle solve your way through the levels and prevent this girl's death. Now, after you do so, you're intertwined into a huge mystery backstory as to why you were murdered, who was behind it, what this girl has in the role of all this. You meet all kinds of new characters by altering history. You're able to go back in time, I think 4 minutes before a death, and you can reanimate a body and save these people from death, all the while uncovering just an awesome story. There's been a lot of love and care into the animation in this game, some of the best animation I've seen on the DS. And being by the Ace Attorney guy, there is a huge emphasis on characters and written dialogue, spoken dialogue. It's all very well handled. This game is quality through and through. If you're looking for another visual novel style game with a cool twist on being dead and possessing things and using ghostly abilities, then definitely give Ghost Trick a chance. This game is amazing from start to finish and will captivate you throughout. Next up, we've got the Professor Layton series of games. And this is a series, I'm going to be honest with you guys, at first I kind of shied away from. The first game came out and the second game came out, and I kind of avoided them, and that's due to the aforementioned puzzle solving. I didn't think I was the biggest fan of solving puzzles. I saw it to be kind of a pain in the ass in a lot of games. I just wanted to go through and play some action and play some gaming without having to rack my brain and scratch my head wondering what the hell I'm doing. This series is done by Level 5, and the way that the puzzles are incorporated into this visual style novel approach just works wonders. I shouldn't have doubted Level 5 from the beginning, but as you can see, this is a long-running series, and the amazing thing about this series is how fresh and compelling this is. It's basically a genre that's been created all into itself. Now, there's elements from visual novels, text-based adventures, point and click, but it mixes it with exploration and mystery and intriguing stories. Every game begins with an amazing top-notch animated cinema showing you the story, giving you a mystery. It's very interesting. I can't stress how interesting these opening stories are. And all throughout the game are sprinkled with cutscenes detailing events that happened and keeping you in the loop. Every time you play the game, it'll recap the story for you and let you know what's gone on, what characters you've met, who you've talked to, so you can take a break for a couple days, come back. It'll say the story so far and fill you in completely on everything that's happened. And you go around exploring in these games, and the bottom screen handles all of your touch-based things to do. So you're moving along the map, pointing and clicking, moving locations. The top screen is going to have all your information. You can talk to characters, and a lot of times these characters will have information to tell you, and they'll also have a puzzle for you to solve. And these are the kind of puzzles where they're fun puzzles. Like, I love playing these games with my wife or my son. We sit down together and we kind of have the handheld in the center of us, and we work together to solve these puzzles. Some of them are really brain your brain twisters, and some of them are, just fun to solve, and they're always easy to solve if you put some thought into it. You've got to really think and imagine things, and there's always hints to help you out if you get too stuck. So they don't want you to not enjoy the games because the puzzles are so difficult. But they're always incorporated very well. Once again, whoever thought of all these kinds of puzzles for each, I don't know how they do it, but brilliant puzzles to solve, and they're actually fun to solve, especially if you're working with somebody, a friend, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It's a lot of fun to play together and solve things, and you feel a sense of accomplishment after solving these puzzles. And you're rewarded with cutscenes, mysteries unfolding. The first couple of games had twists at the end that I never saw coming. Characters, dialogue, and writing are the top selling points of these games. The characters are extremely charming. They're all very personable, likable. They're very well fleshed out. You kind of feel like you know each one of these characters that you're dealing with. Professor Layton is just a class act gentleman. His little apprentice, Luke, that helps you solve puzzles, is a very likable kid. And you just grow attached to these characters, and there really is a sense of adventure in these games. Locations and the environments, everything is top notch. Graphics are beautiful, excellent music, and the puzzles are incorporated so well that if you enjoy visual novels and you enjoy solving things, once again, mysteries, then you've got to check these games out. I cannot gush enough about the Professor Layton series of games. Just an amazing franchise. Due to time constraints, I can't talk about every game that I want to in detail, but I couldn't end this video without making some honorable mentions. These are games you should definitely check out if you're into the graphic novel or want to get into the point-and-click visual novel style of game. First off, Touch Detective 1 and Touch Detective 2.5. You play as Mackenzie, a young detective in training, exploring a world very much that looks like Tim Burton designed it. It's very dark, has kind of a Corpse Bride look to everything, and the puzzles are very intuitive, a lot of fun to play. Mackenzie makes for a great character. The art style is fantastic. A lot like Phoenix Wright, just minus the courtroom antics. You're just going to be solving puzzles and solving cases. Some great mysteries in these games. Highly recommended. Jake Hunter Detective Chronicles Memories from the Past. If you're going to pick up a Jake Hunter title, make sure it's the Memories from the Past version. This fixes the original release. Had a lot of problems with like translation, pacing, and some gameplay glitches, I believe. Memories from the Past is a very competent, excellent detective game. The cases are highly interesting, excellent written script, fixes all the localization issues, and Jake Hunter is a total badass, like a trench coat wearing, cigarette smoking, just a guy that talks no BS, doesn't pull any punches. He's an awesome character. I had a lot of fun with this game, tons of content. Insecticide is from the old school point and click guys that worked on some of the LucasArts games and some other classic point and click games that merges that kind of style gameplay, the text adventure, talking to characters, with an action game, and it's all based in like a bug world. So everybody's like a bug or some type of creature. And next we have Teresia. This is a very dark, mature-rated, sad tale, very much in the action-adventure, first-person exploration gameplay realm, and it's very dark. There's two stories that intertwine. Very interesting game. Nothing quite like it on the DS. Highly recommended. Any of these games are going to be well suited to anybody looking to get into the genre. I couldn't do this video without mentioning one of my favorite companies that made graphic novel, visual style games for the DS. That's a company called Sing, C-I-N-G. Unfortunately, they shut down their studios, are no longer making games, but they made some of the best games on the DS. Starting with Trace Memory, this was a launch game on the DS and really showed what the system was capable of in terms of using its dual screens, its microphone, the clamshell design even. Early great adventure game. You play as Ashley, who's 14 years old. Her parents were presumed dead all of her life. She finds out on her 14th birthday that her father is still alive and waiting for her on Blood Edward Island. What follows is an excellent mystery, using the DS to the fullest of all of its features. This is a great game. Hotel Dusk and The Secret of Cape West, The Last Window, are both visual novels that hold the DS like a book. So instead of holding it long ways, you're going to flip it upside down on its side and hold it like a book and solve the excellent mysteries of Hotel Dusk in the wish-granting room of 215. You know, can this room grant wishes? What's the secret behind this hotel? What's really going on in this place and these workers? Everything's so strange, but these are fantastic games in the DS. And finally, their last game before they went out of business again. You play as a couple of cops that are trying to solve a 30-year-old murder case called Providence Killer. You're able to use your psychic powers and go back in time and examine crime scenes in the present, but you can see them in the past and what murders took place and piece together clues. This will probably be a future episode for sure, guys, because I've got a lot more to say about Sing as a company and their games. These are fantastic entries and should be at the top of everyone's list if you're a visual novel fan. So I hope you guys have enjoyed taking a look at some great graphic novel, visual novel style games. This really is a game genre that needs more love. I hope you have found a game that interests you or a series. Maybe give it a shot, see if the genre is for you. Thank you guys for watching. As always, Games of War is nothing without you.